Hello and a warm welcome to our special report. This week we are in Odisha, where its coastline was smashed by Cyclone Phailin, India's fiercest storm in 14 years. Flooded swaths of farmland, thousands and thousands of destroyed and wrecked houses. But early warnings, which started 5 days before the storm's arrival, helped save millions and millions of lives. Over the next 30 minutes, take a look at the fury perpetrated by Cyclone Phailin and also how this cyclone became a turning point as far as the history of India's disaster preparedness is concerned.
Cyclone Phailin is set to hit the coastline of Odisha and Andhra Pradesh.
Well, it's barely possible for me to stand straight now. Last we know, the wind is blowing at 135 kilometers per hour.
India is preparing for a massive cyclone.
Right here, just some time back, this massive tree fell down.
You can see I'm barely able to stand up. I can see one. Oh God. October 12, 2013, 9:30 p.m. Monstrous Cyclone Phailin barreled towards India's east coast at a speed of 220 kilometers per hour, pounding Odisha and Andhra Pradesh. Memories of Super Cyclone 1999 that took some 10,000 lives came hurtling down everyone's mind. But this time, things were different. Early warning and better preparation came to the rescue of millions of people along the east coast. There were no major casualties, though Phailin was no less than a super cyclone. Large-scale evacuation of people to storm shelters prevented a repeat of the 1999 tragedy. However, Phailin left a trail of destruction, causing huge damage and displacing more than 1 million people. Rajya Sabha TV crew travelled to the cyclone-hit areas of Odisha just 3 days after the cyclone hit the coastline. And what we saw was mind-numbing. Cyclone Phailin unleashed maximum damage across Ganjam, Gopalpur, Paradip, Kendrapara, Balasore and Bhadrak. And we followed the trail of destruction. Right now I'm at the Gopalpur port area and you can see behind me more than 500 boats which have got badly damaged. In that particular corner is a yacht which is parked there and that has got completely wiped out. In fact, not only the yacht, I'm told that there were a number of other barges and dredges, there were breakwaters which were under construction that have got completely wiped out. According to the preliminary assessment at the first level, the losses at this Gopalpur port which have been pegged are a whopping 300 crore. So that's a big amount. Phailin dealt a serious blow to port operations at Gopalpur and the livelihoods of people dependent on it. The all-weather direct berthing port suffered heavy losses. The port began operations only in March and offers contractual employment to around 5,000 locals. Although the port staff had taken precautionary measures and removed all movable items before the storm struck, it would take at least 6 to 8 months to resume operations. I'm right now at the landfall site, the point at which Cyclone Phailin hit in Gopalpur the first. In fact, none of the media teams have ventured this place before. And we at Rajya Sabha TV bring you the first pictures of the landfall site. But what is more important for me to tell you right now is the theatre of catastrophe. What this cyclone did to the port here in Gopalpur. Now the cyclone was coming towards me and there were launchers, there were utility boats which were parked inside the seawater. And now if you see behind me, those launchers and the utility boats which were within the seawater, which were inside the seawater, they have been drifted across, they have been pushed onto the beach. So that is the force or the pressure of the cyclone.
The loss of the 300 crores which is estimated is for the breakwater for the all-weather direct berthing port where a lot of damages has occurred.
Okay.
The rehabilitation cost will be much more than that of the capital costs.
Eyewitness accounts say after the storm subsided, there was no trace of smaller vessels. Right now I am in Balasore district from where the coastline is just about 12 kilometers. About 2.5 lakh people have got marooned in this district alone, and wherever we've gone so far we found that 99% of the mud houses and the thatched huts have got completely wiped out. Every second house in the district is like this, completely wrecked and destroyed, bearing the stamp of the cyclonic ghost Phailin. Kushidhar Mohanty cannot forget that night when the supercyclonic wind swept away his mud house. With all his belongings lost, nothing to eat, Kushidhar is dependent on relief material given by the state government.
I lost almost everything in this cyclone. God alone knows how I will recover.
Everything got swept away by Cyclone Phailin.
I visited a few more houses to see the way villagers were picking up the shattered pieces to bring back life to normalcy. It's very difficult to imagine how these people are staying here inside these huts. The floor, the ground is absolutely wet. The floodwaters have receded, but you can see the condition of the floor. People here say that even little kids, little children are sleeping on the damp floor and no polythene has been provided by the government. Enter the district of Mayurbhanj. All houses in this remote village got wrecked.
ये सामान में कुछ नहीं निकल पाया, सब ऐसे उसी के अंदर है.
What was once a lively place has almost been reduced to a rubble. Right now I am at a village called Raisua and you can see behind me sacks of food grains stocked inside the thatched huts and the mud houses. But the people here cannot dare to enter inside because of the fear of the roof falling over their head.
अभी तो कुछ भी रास्ता नहीं. देखो हमें कितना उधर देखो कितना पानी, उधर देखो कितना पानी, उतना देखो कितना. आप सब आया तो कितना देखो अंदर ये कितना गंदा है.
रात 3 बजे उठा. इस टाइम हमारा पुत्र बोला जो पानी आ गया. हम नीचे आ गया, इतना पानी हो गया. वो लोग बोला जो तुम छोड़ के सब चलाओ. चला गया, सब चला गया. क्या करेगा, कुछ नहीं है अभी.
Welcome back. You're watching our special report, 8 hours that shook Odisha. The preliminary damage report with the Department of School and Mass Education estimates Cyclone Phailin has damaged as many as 5,825 educational institutions, causing damage of over 250 crores. As many as 4,685 elementary schools, 1,135 high schools and 5 teacher training institutions have been damaged. I'm right now at a government primary school which had tin shade roofs, but what 8 hours of Cyclone Phailin did to the school building and to the classroom is for you to see. With the tin shade roof blown away, with the chairs and tables displaced, perhaps only the walls of these classrooms would be able to express the pain inflicted by the cyclone. The schools have shut down, the classes are closed, but looking at the magnitude of the rehabilitation, no one knows when life will come back to normalcy.
The school is totally, completely destroyed, the ruin, and you have seen that the school is not in a position to start the classes.
Right now I'm at the famous Berhampur University, and what you see behind me is the administrative block which has started crumbling. In fact, there are many blocks within this university which have got completely wiped out because of Cyclone Phailin. Though the restoration work is in process, but the completion of the repair work still seems to be a long way. Cyclone Phailin resulted in massive destruction of electricity poles. Restoration work is hampered by intermittent rains. As per an estimate, the Energy Department suffered maximum losses due to the cyclone and flood, and around 1,048 crore in assistance has been sought from the centre to restore power supply in affected areas.
After the cyclone, the restoration work was going on very finely because we had set some timelines. We almost restored the communication network within 48 hours. We restored water supply, except Ganjam, where electricity could not be restored, we put in generators.
The state's rice producing areas have taken the maximum hit from Cyclone Phailin. Chief Minister Naveen Patnaik has sought central assistance for 4 major sectors: failed crops, damaged roads and houses, and the power projects. But the big question is, how much central compensation can be given to the state of Odisha? An aerial view would give you a clearer picture of the crop damage inflicted by the cyclone and the flash floods that followed. Brown patches which you see are fields that suffered maximum crop damage. Out of the total cultivable area of 3.6 million hectares, 0.5 million hectares has got affected.
Here is an opportunity for the centre to redeem its image in Odisha. If the aid given is in line with the actual damage that we are seeing on the ground, in line with what the state government has requested, then I think it will go a long way towards depoliticizing the issue.
State Disaster Response Fund, which is notified by the Ministry of Home Affairs, we give, as per that norm, input subsidy to the farmers whose crop loss is more than 50%. And now our state government has decided that we will give this input subsidy minimum 2,000 rupees.
Though the state government was proactive in providing relief material, there are complaints at several pockets.
देखिए, ऊपर से बारिश आ रहा है और नीचे से बाढ़ आया है। कैसे आदमी रहेंगे घर में? और सरकार की तरफ से कुछ भी नहीं आया।
There are a large number of houses where the home fires are not burning and cooking has almost come to a standstill. It is in moments like these that social organizations have come forward to feed the poor and the hungry, because there are a large number of pockets where the government is yet to reach out with the relief and the rehabilitation measures. Odisha was at the receiving end of a double whammy, first the cyclone and then flash floods. After surviving Cyclone Phailin, The Ganjam district in the state witnessed floods because of continuous rains for 5 days. Over 2 lakh people got marooned and several died.
People have no complaint that they have not got the relief, or relief material is there, money is there, but the problem is they are neither coming to the relief center to collect it, nor our people are ready to give it. But in the rain, we also apprehend they will lose their relief once they collect it. That's the main problem.
With meteorologists warning that climate change will bring more severe natural calamities to the Indian subcontinent, states like Odisha and Andhra Pradesh have invested heavily in the disaster risk mitigation projects. Both states have their own disaster management departments and have constructed cyclone shelters across the state. The Met Department this time won the kudos for predicting the cyclone well in advance, allowing the government to start a massive evacuation program. The Odisha government mobilized all resources at hand to carry out one of the biggest evacuations in the world, saving millions of lives.
It happened between 10th and 11th, and which was accurately predicted. So therefore, all the aspect related to cyclogenesis, its intensification into cyclonic storm, its rapid intensification, its track movement, everything very went well.
Improved communication systems aided by mobile penetration and 24/7 media coverage helped keep the damage and destruction at a low level and restrict the human casualties.
The NDRF people got out on the streets in Gopalpur and all the badly affected areas, started clearing the trees which were blocking the roads. When the rain stopped at about 8:30 in the morning and people started coming out of their homes, they realized that the roads were already cleared up. So this is the kind of efforts that NDRF had done.
India is one of the most disaster-prone countries in the world, and many of its 1.2 billion people live in areas vulnerable to natural hazards like drought, earthquake and floods. The 1999 super cyclone, which thrashed Odisha with a wind speed of 300 kilometers per hour and left millions and millions of people homeless, became a wake-up call for the authorities as well as the humanitarian agencies. Trains and flights got cancelled, roads barricaded, control rooms set up. Satellite phones and generators were dispatched to the heads of districts to ensure that they remained in touch with the state capital. Army, Navy and the Air Force were put on standby. Fishermen were asked not to venture into the sea and farmers were advised to harvest their standing crops. All this was possible because of an enlightened bureaucracy that worked 24/7. Young IPS officers like Ashish Kumar Singh did what was simply unthinkable.
Society and the community and bureaucracy and everybody will work together. So definitely this can be possible. This has been possible also, and this will be the example, because there is a very good coordination between the community leaders, local leaders and bureaucracy and police and everybody.
Collector of Ganjam district Krishna Kumar recalls how evacuation process was an uphill task.
So when we went to villages and tried to convince people, they said कि no sir, आप लोग तो हरियाणा पंजाब के रहने वाले हैं, आपने कभी साइक्लोन देखा नहीं है, आप लोग ऐसे परेशान हो रहे हैं, साइक्लोन कुछ नहीं आएगा, हम तो हर साल साइक्लोन देखते हैं. Then we said कि नहीं, this time this is really serious. You know, one has to be really serious because warning is absolutely on the point that it will land in Ganjam district. This way, slowly we took community into confidence.
Let's take a short break at this point in time and return with lots more on the other side in a moment from now. Media organizations did a stellar job covering Cyclone Phailin 24/7. Holding the equipment in high-speed winds was a tough job. This is how they facilitated the live coverage. Listen in.
You know, our information about cyclone was twofold. One was from the Indian Met and the other from abroad. and the one that was from abroad was very exaggerated. They were talking about the wind speed of about 300, and that really scared us, because even at 200 it would actually shake up any sort of teleport or dish antennas that we had. So what we did is, again, in our process of preparation, we actually anchored that from all sides to make sure, because that is the source of our uplinking of our channel, because if that went out even a little bit, in the sense even if it was tilted, we would lose our signal. So it was very important for us to hold it in place.
But the handling of Phailin also attracted some criticism. Opposition says that the state government's claim about evacuation is exaggerated and publicity-oriented, and that more than half of the evacuees had moved to safer places on their own because of the horrifying experience of the 1999 super cyclone and round-the-clock media coverage. Centre has now announced 1,000 crore as a cumulative compensation for Odisha and Andhra Pradesh, but fight for credit seems to be far from over.
Not a single functionary of the central government at the executive level has so far visited Odisha. At the political level, nobody has visited Odisha.
Kind of claim that they have evacuated 9 lakh people, I question that, because this is not a fact. It's all exaggerated. People started coming out of their houses in the 12th morning, then after that they went back.
The Indian Meteorological Department to the Odisha Disaster Management Authority have certainly set new benchmarks for responding to natural disasters. But one cannot deny the fact that India needs to do more. CAG in its audit report in 2013 mentioned that despite a considerable progress in setting up institutions and funding arrangements, there are critical gaps, for example, in the legislative framework and the NDMA funding. But a recent World Bank report also quoted India as being least prepared to handle the natural disasters and said that it ranked only after the African countries. The 5-year National Cyclone Risk Mitigation Project worth 14.9 billion came into force in 2009. It was aimed at developing warning systems and erecting disaster resilient structures along the country's coastline, particularly in Odisha and Andhra Pradesh. But a number of its programs are yet to be implemented.
There was a comment that the disaster mitigation fund was not set up. Yes, this is what the government has to do. It's not just an effort that NDMA makes, but that is also recently when the Prime Minister chaired this meeting of NDMA, this was discussed, and I think very soon this will also be taken care of.
Key findings of the 2013 CAG report point out several shortcomings. National Plan for Disaster Management has not been formulated even after 6 years of the enactment of the Disaster Management Act. National Executive Committee has not met since May 2008, although the country has faced many disasters since that date. National Disaster Response Fund was utilized for various purposes other than those stated in the Government of India guideline. Only 7 states have raised their disaster response forces so far.
The fact that they said NDMA is not able to implement any of these projects. So how can we implement projects which are not sanctioned?
Unprecedented rainfall in June 2013 wreaked havoc across the Himalayan state of Uttarakhand, causing rivers and glacier lakes to overflow, triggering massive landslides. A catastrophe that many termed as Himalayan tsunami. 6,000 people reported dead and more than 2 million people's lives disrupted. The memory is still fresh. Coming as it does in the aftermath of such a severe calamity, the successful containment of casualties has set a high standard for what governmental authorities can do when they apply themselves. More importantly, it serves as a benchmark for what citizens of the country can and indeed should expect of their government. The competent and robust response to Cyclone Phailin is certainly heartening. It only goes to show what a coordinated effort and planning can really do. Time for us to wrap this edition of our special report. Goodbye and thanks for watching.